Hello, everybody. People across the planet. I hope lots of people across the planet get to see us here this morning. We're meeting with the Council of Elders. That's the name we're exploring for ourselves at the moment. We're coming together as a result of having worked together in trauma healing for a very long time, and have been following an inner exploration of our own personal trauma and working in the collective trauma, working with collective trauma healing. And we just felt like it would be really interesting to offer out to you the opportunity to share in the kind of things that we touch into, and just see how that touches your heart as well. And maybe there's something that we're exploring here that's helpful for you. So that's my heartfelt wish. So I'd love to start, first of all, with just a moment of just attunement and silence. It's been a hectic morning for us all here. So if you're watching, would you like to join us? Would you like to just feel your bottom on the seat in this moment, wherever you are? And just taking a breath. And a long out breath. And just allowing your body to settle in this moment. Whatever's been going on for you, just mentally putting that aside. And taking another breath. And a long out breath. And just feeling your bottom on the seat. Being aware of your feet on the floor. Allowing your shoulders to drop. Your jaw to soften. And just noticing your hands in this moment. Just noticing what you can feel with the palms of your hands. And just settling into that experience of yourself in this moment, however that is, in whatever way. And taking another breath. And a long out breath. And just noticing where in your body you have a feeling of comfort and well-being. And just settling your attention into that place. And allowing that to expand. And whatever's been going on for you today, just allowing that to be put aside in this moment as you join us for this sharing. So I just like to come back now from that brief grounding back to our lovely sisters, elders, our elders in the group here. Elders' wisdom, Council of Elders. Excuse me, I have a tickle in my throat. So would you like to introduce yourself, everyone? We have Brigitte here. Would you like to introduce yourself, Brigitte?
Hello. And yes, I'm Brigitte and Maggie. And I live in France, in southwest France. And I've been journeying with this beautiful circle, beautiful people, beautiful women for years now. And it's offered tremendous support at every level. I never felt I would reach this point today when I would be able to even be here today openly on a screen and able just to voice, just to start speaking a little bit of what I carry, whatever that is, however that manifests moment by moment. So this is me today, and I walk as a woman, the shaman's path. There is no glamour to that. It's just being with all life, moment by moment. And yes, being this trauma-informed elder. And how does that manifest moment by moment? That just depends who I am with. And just being in presence. That's what I wanted to share. So I'm sharing that presence with whoever is here today. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Brigitte. It's taken tremendous courage for all of us to be able to get to this point of being able to sit and share and to be seen publicly. So this is a huge thing. So Julia or Sue, would one of you like to just introduce yourself?
I'm happy to introduce myself. I'm Julia, and I've been working as a midwife for 4 decades and have trained in lots of complementary therapies, mostly to help the pregnant and birthing woman. And what I'm noticing is, like Brigitte just mentioned just now, what comes through my mouth and how I am is different depending on who I'm with. It's almost as though the client or couple or the person that I'm working with brings something through me. It feels like it's not me. I mean, I'm here with all the trainings in the background, but what actually comes through me and what actually comes out of my mouth, I sometimes learn from myself. And this is what I've noticed, particularly in becoming an elder. And maybe it is like post-menopause, I'm less editing what I say because it's somehow easier to be completely real. But actually, what I'm saying, I don't think is coming from me. I think it's coming through me a lot of the time. And when that's happening, it just feels like being in the flow. It feels like I'm learning as much as I'm teaching, and maybe spending decades being at birth and helping women get into that flow space and allowing themselves to surrender and let the baby through. Maybe that has been my training ground for the place where I am now.
Yeah, that's beautiful, isn't it? Where I think we're all surrendering in this moment, or learning to surrender and let things through, rather than sit back in our fear and our fear that operates on all sorts of levels. So Sue, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, I'm Sue. Yeah, my sort of background really in what I'm doing at the moment has stemmed from, it really started with doing a Vipassana course with Goenka in India when I was 18. And I sort of adopted a streamlined version of Vipassana, just that somatic awareness of the body. And so I've been practicing that sort of pretty much all the time since. And I've found that, I went through periods where I was ill, when you're observing how the body is and how you're functioning, the end result of that would be that I would increase my capacity, I would increase my awareness. And I'm finding the trauma work, which I've been doing now with Juliet for some years, perfectly fits in with this, this kind of centering the awareness into the body and the other therapies that I do. But what I'm finding at the moment, which is sort of really particularly relevant around this, is that increasingly we're being, through lockdowns or things being cancelled or uncertainty around travel, increasingly I'm finding events that I would have attended in the past or been able to attend have gone online, have suddenly had to cancel in-person participation and all of that kind of thing. And what I observe is that then they put something online, or I attend some pujas online or some meditations online. And what this requires is this increased capacity that to really get from it what you can is to, the subtler your sense and sensory awareness can become, the more you can really engage on purely an energy level, in a sense, the more that you can get from it. So I see us all, in a sense, being trained through these circumstances, through these difficulties, being trained up in our awareness. We're probably all increasing this awareness without realizing it. Just a capacity to be aware beyond ourselves, beyond, like this morning in yoga, I observed my yoga teacher has increased her capacity. She's subtly more aware of the group than she used to be. And this is because she can't go up and touch people in person. There are restrictions and things. So her awareness is increasing in other ways. And I see this as a wonderful payoff, really, through what's happening at the moment. I think there's a real transformation in our consciousness available to us if we can work with it. Anyway, that's my bit.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So the work that we've been doing, the trauma healing that we've been doing, because we've been meeting every week and really exploring very, very deeply into those subtler aspects in ourselves, and coming very much from the present moment. What's happening to me in the present moment? How are events affecting me, and how am I interpreting it? How am I experiencing it in the present moment? And do I have capacity to hold whatever's coming up? So trauma is when we're overcapacitated, when we're disconnected and overwhelmed, or there's too much going on and we can't cope with it. And healing trauma is about building a bigger and bigger capacity, so no matter what's happening, we can be present with it and hold it and become less dissociated. So we've been doing a lot of exploration about our frozen, dissociated parts over the last couple of years, and how much those frozen parts keep us from being in the present moment. So, I'd just like to check in with you all. It's a bit nerve-wracking, isn't it? Just like we've been doing this in private, our little group, and suddenly now it's like, oh, we're doing it out in the open. It's like, how do we transition from what we're doing together to actually bringing it for other people to experience as well? So if you're watching, what's happening for you in the moment? How are you receiving this? What's been going on for you today before you came to join us? And just to check in with everyone here, how are you all this morning? I know that we were feeling quite stressed with things going on earlier on from our previous little dip in. I mean, how are you now that we're actually live and we've introduced ourselves? How does that feel? Who would like to share?
Well, I can. That feels really, it really feels as if the group is holding, there is a holding quality. Julia was sharing, I could really feel beautiful place of her sharing, and same with Sue, and same with you, and Maya, who is not here today, but she's here as well. And what I wanted to share just now is how this holding, that vessel, that sacred circle is not empty, it's full. And it's full with presence moment by moment as we surrender to whatever is here. Like this morning, I was very stressed too. And yet I wanted to share yesterday, or the day before yesterday, I was with some friends and I was able to attune with a cat was dying and they were distressed. Both Iscan and François was feeling stressed because, and they said, oh, she's already survived 3 times, she's done that, she might survive. And I said, she's going, and can we be with her? And they called her Kali, so we were just singing the Kalima. And it was just beautiful how through the trauma healing, I'm no longer dissociating, and I could feel the field of that beautiful cat. And she was telling me she was moving on. And then my friend said, no, she was warm, she's okay, she'll make it. And I said, she just needs for us to say it's okay. Can we be with you as you move on? And it's really something I've learned through this trauma healing. Can we just be with whatever situation the universe is gifting us? Can we take the essence of that moment? And that beautiful cat, I stayed with her. I wasn't with my friend, but I came back home. And until 2:00, I stayed present. And she passed away.
Oh.
But beautifully. And then there was beautiful ceremony ritual that they did with the fire. So it's how can we be with a loved one? And I've learned huge amount through this trauma healing. How can I be with myself first? Those frozen parts, which we have even brought back from our lineage, our grandparents and great-grandparents, who could not deal with them because they were in trenches or they were in war or they'd lost a sibling. How can we be bringing ourselves back to just this moment and say, oh, okay, what is this bringing to me just now? And the other day was just being in presence and bringing softness and love to that beautiful cat.
Yeah,
I just wanted to share how healing can take us on the threshold and not go with fear, but just stay with love.
Yeah.
And softness and space, creating spaciousness for that being, whatever their experience is. And we're going to need that right now. So I really feel 1,000 blessings for each one of you on this group and for those of you who are going to see us, this circle of elders. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Brigitte. So, Julia or Sue, would you like to share how it is for you this morning? What's coming up for you as we step into this new way of relating with each other and with the outer world?
Yeah, there's one point I would enjoy to raise, really, and that is the importance of guarding our own internal state. And increasingly, if we're encountering more pressures or more problems that other people are going through, and how can we best be with those difficult situations? And I think one of the things that I observe is the thing of guarding our own internal well-being in spite of anything that is going on, personal or impersonal. And what each of us can, we all have different ways of doing this. Some people do their yoga or their qigong or their meditation, or they take their dog on a walk, and that's a great way of resetting. But it's wonderful to understand a little bit what's actually happening on a trauma level with that, because you mentioned the other day when we did one of these recordings about a mother picking up a child and hugging a child or kissing a child, and what that does. And really, any time that that's going on, it's actually the mother is teaching the child to reset their nervous system, so that what that mother is sharing at that moment is helping to the child lets go. It's like, everything's okay. And I mean, I had this with my mom. She's 89 and before she died, and I could ring her, and the conversation wouldn't even be about whatever I might have a problem with, but somehow the connection through her would suddenly, the problem wasn't such a big issue anymore. And it's this kind of, really, it feels magical, but actually I think that there are reasons behind this. And I remember being on a meditation course with Lila Beck, who's a psychic lady, many, many years ago, probably about 25 years ago or more, in the south of France, in Lavaudieu. And she described how she could see that when a mother picked up a child, often it would be onto the left shoulder, and she would see a current of blue light coming over the woman's left shoulder into the child. And that blue light having this calming kind of relaxing effect, it would calm down their distress. And I mean, I have memories of being, and it doesn't have to be your mother, it can be whoever's caring for you in that moment, whoever is putting themselves in that position of tending to your needs. Because I remember that happening in a way with my ayah when I was little in India. So there's this change of energy takes place. So on a nervous system level, that this agitation, this stressed state calms. So how we do that on a personal level, in any day-to-day situations, moving in and out of things and connections with people, and how we're able to, through what I've learned with you, Juliet, is how nervous systems talk to nervous systems. And there's this unspoken conversation going on, and it can be many people in a room, and it just takes one person to be really agitated or distressed, and that can ripple out and affect everybody else. And I've also sat in rooms and observed people who are really amazing teachers who have that opposite effect. Everything calms in their presence. And we can all be that. We can all do that for others, like Brigitte was just saying. So I had a little bit of training in this when I had to go to Argentina. My daughter had an accident there, and the insurance company paid for me to be there in a hotel near the hospital, and I used to go in each day and be with her. And on this ward was some very, very stressed, very, very distressed people. It was a diagnostic ward, and so there were all sorts of cases. There could be somebody dying of cancer in the bed next to her, and then, or somebody screaming with some kind of mental disorder, or all kinds of you know, some less extreme, some very extreme cases. And if I found that if I didn't guard my peace of mind, my internal state, then I could easily spiral into a very negative state. But it was a good practice ground, because the family, there was one family for about 5 weeks, this woman was dying of cancer in the bed next to my daughter. And the family initially, when I got there, were very distressed, very agitated, and just all over the place, really. And then, so in a way, I had to practice calming my nervous system to be there for my daughter. And then they were getting that from me. And the daughters were saying, the daughters of this woman were saying, oh, it's wonderful. We feel that you're helping us. You know, they all calmed down. They all calmed their own distress so they could be there for the dying mother. And it took a little while, you know, to get through those levels of agitation. But yeah, I think this is for all of us to be practicing at this time, because I encounter so many stories of personal, immense distress in people. So how to be there for them, how to help if you can help, but also just how to communicate a better, not better isn't the right word, you know, a state of being that doesn't drain you and distress you, really. You know, how to share that with others. I think that's work for us all, really, at this time, maybe.
Yeah, thank you, Sue. And you're so wonderful at Healing Waters. We have a lot of people come that are very distressed, that come for retreat or for a trauma healing retreat or something, or maybe they've just landed on our doorstep and they're distressed and we've taken them in. And you're amazing at you're so.
It's a good practice ground. It really is, because all sorts come through the door, and you know, some people are in high spirits and other people are very distressed, and it's a really good practicing to track people's nervous systems and see where they are.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't take much, actually, to reassure people.
Absolutely. And healing isn't about employing tons of techniques, although, you know, they can be useful. It's like, first and foremost, it's about presence. It's about being able to maintain a calm nervous system that then entrains other people's nervous system just to settle. And I'm hoping and praying that as we do this, then you who are listening, that you will get a little bit of this in this moment, that your nervous system also can begin to settle. So we have, let me see, we've got maybe just 10 minutes. Julia, do you want to share how you are this morning?
Got 9 minutes left, Juliet.
Okay, so at some point, everyone who's watching, perhaps we'll upgrade to a more a paid package, but we're doing this on an unpaid Zoom package at this moment in time. So it runs us out of time. So that's what that's all about. So Julia, would you like to share?
Yes, what as I contemplate on what you've been saying, what I am particularly aware of is when something, when I feel taken by surprise by something, it's always a young part that's activated, whereas the wise, calm elder place, doesn't matter what happens. Yeah, she can just flow with it all. And I even noticed an echo, like right at the beginning, when you got your little cough and had a drink, and then said, "Oh, everyone introduce yourself," because we hadn't planned to do that. So then I heard the little one go, "Ah, Juliet didn't say we were going to do this. What am I supposed to say?" But then that young part has the wise elder part who says, "It's okay. We will just open our mouth and see what comes out," which just feels so much better than having some script of, "Oh, this is what I've done, this is what I've trained in, blah blah blah, and this is who I am." But it's not. Who I am is changes moment by moment, and who I'm with, and what's needed in a particular situation. And what I've noticed is, however old I am, there's still little young parts who might send a wobble through my system here and there. And most of the time I can like catch the situation and give them what they need in the moment, as well as being supportive to whoever I'm with. And yeah, if it's family, maybe I need time out, because family, there's nothing like family for pressing one's buttons, and we all need time out, and we all need to make sure that we've got sufficient resources.
Yeah, thanks, Julia. And it's interesting that you brought this up. When we hadn't planned that you would all introduce yourselves, I was going to introduce you, and then when the cough came on, it's like, oh my goodness, now I'm going to be coughing on screen, and what can I do about that? It's like, oh, and so I was just like really trusting that you would all be okay to introduce yourself, and being aware that I hadn't talked about it beforehand. But what was powerful for me is that little part of myself that never, when you talk, Sue, about, you know, the mother being held, I never had that connection. I still don't have that connection, and it's been a huge thing for me to begin to build a connection of safety with anyone at all. And yet in that moment when I coughed and then I handed it over to you, it was so reassuring for my nervous system that I could really trust into the group and into the connections that we've built, and it was all fine. And then I could just like settle and have the capacity again to just talk and to share. And yeah, it's a wonderful experience, this work, to just like explore subtler and subtler levels, and to show up as we are in whatever state we're in, whichever little injured, fragmented part of ourselves in that moment, and at the same time have created enough capacity in ourselves and within the group to hold whatever is showing up right now.
And what I love, thank you, Julia, what I love as well is, I mean, Julia and Sue, when you were talking about the coherent field, that applies to the animals too. And what you were sharing, Sue, as you were caressing, that's how we were with Callie. We were caressing, reassuring her as she was going through the stages. So I really feel we can take that to any level. Any level, like you in the hospital, you, Julia, at birth, and you know, with our inner parts. Wow. I mean, you put me on the spot, asking me to introduce myself, and I thought, oh, good gracious, I don't know how to introduce myself. So, yes, it's fascinating how we just weave, you know, within this circle, we just weave the magic, you know, of inviting you who are listening to this just to, step into this circle and step with your own, you know, resources. And yeah, I love that guarding, Sue. I really love that. Because as I was with Callie dying, I felt that core strength and that little part of me when I lost that kitten that I had to take back into the wild because I couldn't keep it. And I felt the sadness as well. So how can you be with that presence and still feel the sadness or the joy? There's a few minutes left for you, Juliet.
That's interesting as you talk about how Callie reminded you of to put it in a context, I think you're referring to a kitten you found when you were tiny.
Yeah.
And to take care of, and you weren't allowed to. So it's just interesting how every moment, every experience that's happening in the moment is touching on some unresolved trauma in the past that you couldn't cope with, particularly when you were little or when you were too overwhelmed. And I find all the time in therapy work that I'm having situations brought to me as a therapist that is a complete replay of things that I've had to go through which were actually devastating to me. And unless I had done a significant amount of work on myself, I would have just been triggered into complete despair in that moment of holding that session. So this is what it's about when we talk about building capacity and building consciousness of how does this thing that's happening in this moment trigger some part of myself where I've been deeply disconnected, dissociated, and in pain. So I'm just hoping that what we're bringing here to you, everyone who may be listening, you are listening, that something will touch your heart and support you, and that we can do this holding and healing for our collective trauma as well, because we're all in this together. So would anybody like to share some closing words? We've got less than a minute left. So does anybody else want to say anything? We might suddenly click off because, I'm pretty unskilled with this stuff. Does that mean no one wants to say anything?
I could just say something there, and that is that, when we talk about having that capacity and, nervous systems talking to nervous systems, that what I observe is that when we can become more balanced, if we've been unbalanced by something, then the opportunity for our solution-orientated thinking comes back in. We can really begin to find solutions to our situations while we're stuck in the trauma of it.
Yeah, wonderful.
We're just closed. Can't do it.
Okay, I'm going to bring us speedily to an end. Thank you so much, everyone, for being so courageous and us doing this together. So love you loads, and everyone who's watching. Lots of love from my heart to yours, and lots of support to you. So, yeah.
Namaste.
Namaste. So, I don't know, we're still recording. It says less than a minute. So, bye for now. Bye for now. Lots of love.
Thanks.